Hello there. It's Dr. Jason Munsell. It is. What have I turned on? I have to enlighten you. It is about 5:30 Thursday evening, 2017. Woohoo! Go team! I said in the syllabus that I would every once in a while, usually weekly, but I didn't the first couple of weeks, have some sort of online lecture for you because of the nature of this class is a hybrid class. We only meet once a week, and therefore a lot of the course contact hours comes from not just the threads and the forums, not just from the tweets, but also from watching online lectures. So, last time we were together, we talked about lots of different things. We talked about different aspects of the community of sport, looking at the four players. Who were those players? The participants, the athletes, and the different types of athletes. We got the organizations, we've got all the media stuff, and then of course the final thing, we have the fans. And then the next chapter that we talked about, chapter 4, because I'm skipping 3 for now, I'm skipping the media stuff, in part because I think all this stuff, particularly in chapter 3 and 4 and 5, is very relevant to the very first paper that you are writing, the ethnography. So, we talked about the first part of chapter 4 and all these different types of fans, and we played a little bit with Play-Doh, Plato, not Play-Doh, and we put our heads in toilets because we're dysfunctional. But it was interesting to see you guys put some of these different characters into dialogue with one another to try to think about how these different types of fans behave, how they communicate with one another, how they create a sense of identity in comparison or contrast perhaps with other types of fans. But so well done there. Hopefully you will remember all those different types of fans, and also remember the very last thing that I said is that this becomes these fan types and all this different type of stuff become really good resources for you for the very first paper where you have to reference the book. And so maybe it is that you have a focus observing the fans and interviewing the fans for your very first paper, and so you could utilize a lot of the things in the book. Okay, so that being said, where's my stuff? I can't find my book. It's someplace. Oh, nope. Where's my book? Donde está something or other? I've lost my sports comm book. It don't matter. Where are you? Oh, there you are. It's like my security blanket. I got it now. Okay, so chapter 4, the second part, online style. One of the things that I thought was really, really interesting as we continue on in chapter 4 was the information on fan rituals. Obviously, I sort of forecasted that a little bit when we talked about tailgates, or I had tailgate as the scene of the little dialogue that you all put together. But this guy named Carbaugh, did an ethnography, and when you're an ethnographer, you do assume the role of a participant observer. You're there, but you're watching what's going on. You're watching everybody. And you can also interview folks, and so you just sort of see what happens. And in his research of going to 40 different college basketball games at all different levels, he uncovered what he saw as 5 various rituals that folks go through sort of in chronological order. Got the warm-up, where people are warming up. Yeah, shoot around, blah, 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 blah. But also the fans are warming up. How are they warming up? They're warming their belly with delightful nachos. So, warm up, then the salutation, which is really about the welcome, blah, blah, blah. Will you please stand for the national anthem, which we all know, and I'll talk about this in the next chapter, as this is a controversial situation. And then you have the introductions from some stupid town. Our stupid people dead. And then, so they usually introduce the away folks. And then, particularly at the Godbold Arena, you know what happens? The lights dim, the strobe lights come on. Now, here are your starting at center, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't think they do that. But they introduce all the various players, and players have all these funky rituals that they do. Stuff like that. Alrighty. And then game talk. So one of the things that Carbach notes that people move into from sort of an everyday mode of talk to then more of a competitive type of talk, game talk, from low intensity to high intensity, to cooperation, to competitiveness, to from the warm up. I would like to share with you my delightful nacho. To game talk. Yo, nacho, my nacho, ref, you suck. And then there's just patient. So the game is over. People sort of no more game talk. Well, maybe it depends. And if you're dysfunctional, then yelling at other folks, you suck. Bye bye. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye. People leave. Maybe hang out. Go home. Then talk about the ritual. So this is another thing that you could potentially use for your first paper. Do you see these movements? Maybe. Are there movements or parts of this that's left out? What about halftime? What about, I don't know. So there's always, through your ethnography, you'll be able to perhaps support certain ideas or challenge certain ideas or come up with something completely new. The next part of fan rituals that the book talks about, and that section on fan rituals starts on page 77, is about the mascot as ritual and the problems with certain types of mascots, particularly racial stereotypes as mascots. And I'll let you read the specifics there, but you probably well know that perhaps the most controversial, well, they're all controversial, but the most controversial mascot these days has been, or at least has gotten a lot of news, the Washington Redskins. And I have here, and I'm not going to show it to you right now, because I know that you can look at this and click the link and probably get better quality stuff. But The Daily Show, if you don't know what The Daily Show used to be, the sort of comedic, satirical news program headed by Jon Stewart. Now I think Trevor Noah does it. But they have a segment here on the Redskins and Native Americans who are voicing their perspectives, and fans who are voicing their perspectives. And it's funny because this is a comedy, The Daily Show. But it's also, and if some of you took my political communication class, you know that oftentimes these so-called fake news stuff, this is different from the whole fake crap that we see on the internet, but these sort of satirical news programs are actually more insightful than the CNNs of the world, and of course anything's more insightful than Fox, but sorry. So watch it. But it's really, really interesting about issues of mascots and the controversy surrounding mascots and as fan ritual, and how meaningful mascots are to people, which comes out of this. I mean, there are folks who, you know, and same thing, and we'll talk about this later, when like professional sports leaves one town to go to another town, people feel like they've lost a family member, like they have gotten a divorce, or somebody has died, or something like that. Okay, so that's that. Now, the next little section, starting on page 79, talks about different motives for why people watch sports and perhaps become fanatical about it, become fans, and all the various different fan types. And basically, table 4-1 is a rock star table. It's better than a coffee table. I enjoy coffee tables. I enjoy coffee. Remember that episode from Seinfeld when what's his face was going to make a coffee table book about coffee tables? I think that's brilliant. That's something I would do. But basically, and it's actually up, go to page 85, so it's not exactly where all this starts in the book. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, count 6 fan motives, so says these folks. It's a typology of fan motives. Some folks are drawn to all this stuff for the aesthetic beauty, because of the way that athletes perform their athleticism and perform the body. Think of gymnastics and all these, wow, how can people actually do that, or whatever. And they have here the example of motocross, because of the unique skill necessary to perform the range of jumps or tricks. It is pretty, it's amazing. Remember Evel Knievel? Iced tea. Okay. Achievement is another thing, a sense of accomplishment that comes from the success of the team that you are supporting. I'm a complete loser myself, but I'm a Clemson fan, and therefore I've achieved something. And it has some examples here. Drama. People like the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Remember that ABC Wide World of Sports? The thrill of the heated rivalry. Yeah. David versus Goliath, which we'll talk about in the next chapter. Escape is another motive. A sense of departure from your everyday, mundane, horrible, my life sucks life. I just want to watch sports. And sometimes people just watch sports. I'm going to watch some ping pong. It's a lot of folks, for instance, utilize sports as a way to indeed find some sort of meaning in life when they feel as if their own life is somewhat meaningless. The example they have here is the 1980 Olympic hockey team when they beat the Soviets. Some of you probably remember that. I remember watching it. It was just and the whole country came together, and everything stopped, and we sort of escaped and felt a sense of accomplishment and moral superiority in a sense because of all that stuff. So escape the everyday. Knowledge. Sometimes we pay attention to sports because we want to learn about stuff, understand how to play, and particularly when in family situations. The example is when parents help a ice dancer watch it so they can learn how to do it. Social connection, I think that's a big thing. People are drawn to sports because it allows them to interact with friends. Their friends are doing it. Everybody's doing it. All the cool kids are going to the tailgate. So there's a lot of stuff there. The example here is a mother and daughter taking a trip to watch the NCAA Women's Field Hockey Championship as a way to bond. That's the way that my mother and I bonded when I was a kid. I remember my mom, we were having a little bit of an argument, and she knocked on my door, and she came in, she Jason.